and welcome to the Business Growth Journey podcast. With me, your host, Nick Termini. Today, we've got an awesome guest, Maxx Krueger, owner of the Kansas City Cigar Company. Max, welcome to the show, man. We're glad to have you on.
Good to be here, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, before we get started, kind of tell us about yourself and how do we know each other?
How do we know each other? Gosh, family. I think about 15 years-ish ago, handful of years before my wedding. Yeah, mostly the lake, all appropriate, nothing debauchery-esque. Just good old wholesome fun. I think.
Absolutely. So, Max, on this show, it's about talking about your journey in business, where you got started, where you are now, and where you're going. Could you just kind of talk a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, grew up, and then, your path to starting your own cigar company?
Yeah. Southern Kansas, small suburb of Wichita, actually. Okay. And, not a whole lot going on there. And I was one of the lucky ones. I made it out. And I ventured up to Lawrence for college. So, I bleed crimson and blue, of course. So with KU being my alma mater, and then a couple internships and job opportunities, I ended up landing in the Kansas City area. And then I just decided I should probably stay. And then met my amazing, beautiful wife.
Yep.
Couple kids, and then here we are.
Awesome, man. So after college, what was your career path? How'd you get started in the business world?
Originally, I was a computer science major. Okay. So I was, I was going through all the programming courses, and I got burnt out in a COBOL class of all things. Nobody should be programming COBOL anymore. I think we're just, there's a few companies locked in the 80s still. But it was a lot of intense coding, and I wanted a different mix. And so I actually switched and went into a business degree, ended up with finance and marketing as a minor, actually. And while at KU, I had an internship at a small little private mutual fund company out of Lenexa, actually. And, did that for a summer and another summer, and then they just hired me right out of school. Of course, it was on a draw pay system. So I didn't just make $0. I made less than $0. I had to pay the draw back until I had paid them what they had paid me before I could even start earning an actual paycheck. So that was exciting.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure many people have that story. And all the anxiety that comes with it, right? Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
If you've seen the movie Boiler Room, it's not too far off.
Act as if, baby. I know that movie well. It's a good one.
We, I made it through that, and then unfortunately showed up one morning with a room full of 23-year-olds. The principal, the boss had just left a handwritten note saying, "Hey, you guys will figure out where I went. I can't recruit you. Good luck in your careers." So, we didn't know what else to do. So went and, got a case of beer, played beer pong on the conference room table, and then we all went our own separate ways. And I followed finance, ended up at a couple big banks, couple big investment firms there for a decade or more, and still in finance, and still working through, in this case, commercial banking here in Kansas City.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. When in doubt, beer pong on a conference table is a winner every time. So as we're still at the entry level of your career, but you said a couple things in there that have just like had my mind going a million miles an hour about our relationship. I remember when you were getting ready to start the Kansas City Cigar Company, and you were showing me like, oh, I build websites. And at one time I had you build a website for me. It was like, this guy has no bounds to all the cool things he does. Yeah, I've seen you take apart cars, build souped up little cars for your kids. I mean, the amount of different hobbies and things you do is pretty incredible. What could you just talk about some of the hobbies and things you've gotten into?
Hobbies and things I've gotten into, and you call it incredible.
Well,
Some
Max,
others near.
simple-minded guy. So every time I'd go over, remember, I'd call you the world's most interesting man because you would just get each time I'd see you, oh, hey, check out this project I got going on, and it would blow my mind.
Well, you can it's everything just costs money, right? So if you got some money, you can buy some things. But I just assume that if I can build it the way that I want, why not? And so I like to tinker. And so I like to get into things and figure out how can I make this thing better. And it doesn't always take money. It just takes a little bit of,
Money and
advanced Googling, I suppose, right? And so, you mentioned the little cars. We have two boys, 5 and 6, and everybody wants a race car, and so why not get them some Power Wheels? But these Power Wheels, they're not race cars, right? And so I figured, well, someone's done something, and with a little bit of ingenuity and creativity. That's the polite version of it. And way too much time. We ended up switching 12 volts into 24, a couple DeWalt drill batteries, a couple converters, lit one on fire by accident. No one was hurt, I think. And now we just, you can shred tires and plastic all over the local cul-de-sacs. It's great.
That's awesome.
Better sound systems in these Power Wheels than some modern vehicles too.
Oh man, it's funny. Like I half the time forget to plug in my kids' Power Wheels to even charge them. You're putting turbo boosters, speakers on them. There's probably like some type of laser system. I mean, the engine.
They have lights. Yeah.
Because one thing leads to the next. I've seen the way your brain works. Because you do something cool, and then you're like, what if we could do this?
Well, I just wanted to build one, but I've got 3. So, again, it snowballs, and the assumption is, why not, right?
Yeah.
And it's fun, right? It's fun just to see what can we do, right? What can we do to this thing? It's the same with the little cars. It's the same with the websites. Building that, you see these every day. These are things you see every day. And just thinking, why not make it like I want it? Why not do it a little bit cooler?
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's a prime example of your growth mindset, man. I mean, I don't know many people that actually can come up with an idea like that and put it into implementation. So as we're talking about, some of the fun things you've done, and then so you get off this conference room beer pong game. What was next for you?
Next was just figuring out what in the world to do. When you're 23 and you have a job and then you have no job 8 hours later. I was lucky enough to be licensed, so I did have the series licensing for the investment side, and so I was able, luckily I was hireable. Now this was 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And so the world was not doing great, especially on the investment community, and
Yep.
so having the licenses, having the schooling for it, and at least a minimal background, I did get lucky. I went from this tiny little private company to a couple really big companies. I ended up at JP Morgan for a long time doing the high net private wealth investment side for them, and that's where I would say for the most part really kind of cut my teeth on big boy job roles. And that's where I met the majority of the individuals I still hang out with today and still, shoot ideas off of. These are a bunch of super smart people that no matter what my journey is in life or business, I still bounce ideas off them every day. Probably some of them they think are bonkers, but whether it's financial advising, corporate banking, Power Wheels cars, website building. I don't know if we need to talk about me owning the digital racehorse or not.
Wait.
Again, I don't know. I got a couple rules with some things. One of which is there's a few things we won't ever get more of. One of them is time.
Yep.
And then as just a general policy, do rad stuff, right?
It's awesome.
Just do some rad things. Why not?
You build computers too, and I remember you were the first one to talk to me about You were the first
I,
person to explain like cryptocurrency to me
I got
before.
a lot of slack for that. Yeah, I still have it. I built a Zcash miner. Zcash was really just it was a crypto derivative of Bitcoin at the time, and what it did was it had to solve what was called the birthday algorithm. So it was the probability of a group of individuals inside of one room. What is the probability of two people having the same birthday? It turns out there's a real math problem for this, and it would take you and I don't know, weeks. I'd probably never solve it,
Actually,
but
it takes me a matter of seconds. My father-in-law and brother-in-law have the same birthday.
damn, see, and that would be great because your solve rate would be very quick. In this case, the median solve rate time is not that quick, and so building out a system heavy based off the graphics card, doing all the heavy lifting. You didn't need a lot of memory, but just heavy graphics processing. I was able to solve it about 300 times a second, which was average. And then once it would unlock or find one of the Zcash, this is so dumb. Zcash coins, I would have it auto converted into Bitcoin, and then I would put into a pool. And it was we're gonna go down a wormhole here, but this is where the geek side, the techie side of me pops out.
Well, just real quick, you are human, right? You're not one of the first AI generated robots.
Oh man, I am more human than it gets. My flaws are a many.
Oh man, you're like one of the most I mean, in a short amount of time here, you've hit on more things than most people have ever thought of in their life, myself included. Uh,
Someone saw cigar on the title of this, and they're wondering what in the world is happening right here. Because this is the anti-cigar. This is
oh,
technology.
this is the beauty of it. All right, so you've solved birthday derivatives, you've built computers, you've souped up what Hot Wheels sets. I know you've souped up your own cars. You've built websites. Uh, what else?
Oh man, my family was originally in the insurance agency business,
Yep.
so insurance brokering. I grew up with that. We've had storage units. I've helped have some consultation discussions on how to run storage facilities and the security behind those and kind of the management of the rentals and the rates.
Yep.
This is all just and I think somewhere that probably comes full circle and it's ultimately beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've really gone through my resume of all the random. If you look me up on LinkedIn, you won't see any of this.
Oh,
Probably for
this
the
is what
better.
makes this show go. I mean, it's so good.
But I think I was at some point between am I going to go way deep into the tech world or am I going to go towards the business side? And maybe I think we're going to get there, but ultimately I do both now, and it all just blends together. And turns out it's the answers are cigars, which is not what I would anticipate.
Okay, wait. So you said you're in the tech world, in the financial world, and now it blends together in cigars. Please
It
explain.
does. Okay, the the tech world, right? You're sitting at your screen, you're just trying to figure out how to. You're not really having real world facial interactions, right? You're sitting there and you're pointing and you're clicking. And similarly in the financial world, but on the business side, I do commercial banking, and so I work with business owners every day to figure out how to protect their business, grow their business, use risk management, and this is across all industries, right? There's
Yeah.
not industry specific, but when I think about what I do with the cigars, I'm using the business, I'll say acumen of just the general business knowledge to grow the business side of it.
Yep.
But to get the messaging out into the world, it's cooler than in my opinion than some things. So I need the access to the technical mindset at that moment to inform the world,
Yep.
and so I am lucky enough to where I can blend those two together. And then turns out I think cigars are pretty neat, and so I just use both scopes and apply them to that.
This is awesome, man. But before we get to the cigars, are there any other highlights to run through in your career? So you just got to the level of where you're in professional business banking. Um, what else?
If you ask my wife, I'm sure she would come up with a handful of stupid stuff I've done. over the course of time.
Well, I haven't heard anything stupid yet. I mean, actually, what you're talking about with the intersection of technology and finance, I mean, that's essentially what business is now, right? So being able to learn how to mass communicate, understand whether it's social media or interconnectivity inside your company. I mean, all these things, right? Like I at many points have been like, okay, it's like the Geico caveman commercial where it's like, okay, I have this thing. I need to move it over to this box. And I'm watching my clock and 2 hours has gone by. That doesn't happen with you.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and
Yeah.
blending it all together. It's exciting when it works, but also keeping it all separate is sometimes it's a task all by itself of bifurcating. Is it bank stuff? Is it tech stuff? Is it cigar
Yeah.
stuff? Is it family and life stuff? Right?
Yep.
There's 10 buckets of inputs at all times every single day, and deciphering what's the hit list of to-do items to
Yeah.
make sure everything's accomplished. It's impossible to do it all, but darn it, we try.
No, I mean that brings up a great point. I mean, every time I talk to you, you're either going to one of your kids' sporting events or have a work function, or I mean, how do you make time for yourself, for your wife, for your family, I mean, with all the different things you do? I mean, you mentioned enough that takes most people a lifetime just to understand what the hell you're talking about. And so I know all these things cross your path in a day. So how do you do that?
Well, I think I'm still married because of a shared Google Calendar at this point.
Oh,
So
it's great.
it really, that's the savior, is having some sort of organizational device, right? And in
Yep.
this case, it's a shared calendar, and so we have the two kids proactively involved in all sorts of sports, right? We've got camps, we got games, we've got practices for the bank. I run a commercial banking team here, and so we've got bank work events that we're sponsoring, we're hosting. I just joined the board of a client of ours here, for example, so that's just one more thing that I really needed to do. And then as the cigars have ramped up, we can probably touch on bringing on some other folks to help out in those areas, but just keeping it organized, taking on as much as I can. I got a lot on the plate, but also if I didn't, I don't think I'm trying hard enough. I'd rather have a little bit too much than not enough, and just sit there twiddling my thumbs, because then I'd find something else to tinker with. It's unproductive at best.
Oh man, well you're not one to let grass grow under your feet, so I don't see that happening. Okay, so to go ahead and look at where you started with the Kansas City Cigar Company, what was the inspiration to even lead you down that path?
The cigars, owning a cigar company,
Mm.
I actually don't smoke that many cigars. And so, but when I do,
But when you do,
I want a good one.
yep,
Right. And so it's worth it for me, instead of, having thousands and thousands of run of the mill cigars. I'd rather just have a handful of extremely good ones.
yep,
And, in the course of my time in the business arena, cigars go very well with that for some reason, right? And there's a lot of reasons, but either I'd buy them here and there, or I would have folks gift them to me,
yeah,
and they were building up for I don't know why exactly. I never kept track in the beginning, but at some point I had like hundreds of cigars, and there was no rhyme or reason, but they were all pretty good. Um, and that's the idea of what's going on here. What am I doing with these things? And so a little bit of luck, circumstance, and timing. They all kind of came together here. And so I still remember the day that it was summer. It was hot, and we were watching Royals games. So it was 2015. I remember this because that was the year that we won the World Series, right?
yep,
And so it's 2015. It's it's before we'd won, but we're watching Royals games. We're at the house, and at some point, I guess I had determined that I had too many cigars. I had too many. Who said, who owns a cigar company at one point and starts out by saying I had too many?
I've never heard this part of the story.
Well, I had too many, and so I took them. I gathered a bunch of them up. I took them upstairs, and I'm showing my wife. I'm like, honey, we're gonna have to throw a party at the house. I got to give these away. I don't know. It's a waste of space. It's taking up all this room.
You started your cigar company.
This is almost the impetus of it.
Okay.
And so I took them upstairs, and I'm showing Lauren. I'm saying, which one of these should I keep? Because I'm gonna get rid of them. We're gonna have a big old banger party at the house. I'm giving everybody a cigar. And she looks at me and says, well, she don't know anything about cigars. I don't know. And again, keep in mind, this is 2015. Royals are just doing phenomenal. Right?
Yeah.
She says, and in Kansas City specifically, anybody who put KC lettering on anything or said they were Kansas City something,
yeah,
everybody's in love with it. Probably because of baseball. And so her natural response is, well, I don't know anything about cigars, but I do know that people like KC. How about you keep the ones that are Kansas City based? And I'm looking at her and thinking, honey, cigars are like internationally not American. These are you can. Well, I'll get a little more into how they're extremely American, but these aren't just popped out of Kansas City out of the streets here. And so that's not a thing. But almost instantly, I kind of thought maybe it could be. I don't. What if it was? Why don't we have something that's extremely KC focused? But this is also before I really knew anything about the cigar business. All I knew is, I enjoyed really good cigars.
Yeah.
Right. If it tastes great, had a good draw, well wrapped, I love it. That's all I really knew. And so the light bulb went off because, again, apparently I needed another hobby at the time of, well, what if, and where do they come from? Why are they so good? Why are they important? Why do I like the good ones? I didn't know why I could disseminate between good and bad, but I could. But I figured maybe we should look into this.
Yeah.
And that was 10-ish years ago.
I remember sitting down at the Ozarks with you, and you were talking about like, I'm going to start a cigar company. Remember that?
I do.
And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? And
that's where it came from.
And you had started like looking at how to get them, what the distribution looked like. You were building out your logo. Kind of walk through what that process was once you decided, hey, I want in the game. Now what?
Okay. Well, you just reminded me that I did do one other business. I actually owned MaximumDesign.com for some time because I got it as I was doing the IT tech stuff. I really enjoyed logo design, graphic design. I bought a big, huge vinyl cutter. We were doing vehicle wraps. Me and another buddy of mine out of his basement. And so I had this imagery in my head. I thought, okay, this whole cigar thing. I don't know exactly where they come from. What makes them great, what doesn't, but I do know when I see one that looks cool and I'm willing to give it a shot. So in my head from day one, I had two thoughts. I thought, one, I can figure this out.
Yep.
And two, whenever I figure it out, I'm going to make it look good. And so I don't know which one I should have done first, but I just kind of started doing both. I started Googling, I just hit the computer. I said, where do cigars even, how does this happen? How does this work? What's the history behind these things? How do I figure it out? Right.
Yep.
There's only one ingredient. It's tobacco. And so I started looking up, where the top place for tobacco. And I had an idea of this, but the tobacco areas that are on the islands, and they are on the islands, right? There are a couple rules when it comes with tobacco. It's just like here in the Midwest, where our climate and our soil and everything that we have, our agriculture it's really good for, things like wheat, soybeans, corn, barley, things. This is what the Midwest is known for. It's because of our climate, our dirt, and our soil. And
yep.
Tobacco, right? You want about a 70-70. You want, kind of that 70 degrees. You want that humidity. Everybody I think knows Cuba. Cuba is popular for a handful of reasons, but kind of being one of the first spots. But that's the climate and the soil composition that you're looking for. And so I just looked that up. I said, well, how can I call something a Cuba? Well, that's more difficult than I anticipated. And so I started looking up the most popular tobacco around the world, and I started calling them. I started making phone calls.
Wait. So explain why was that more difficult than you think? I think I know why, but I'm kind of curious what you
I'm,
say.
I mean, pick up your phone and try calling another country. Just give it a shot, and it's tough. It's real tough, and if I could get someone who could even understand me,
Yeah.
they're like, I'm sitting there asking like, hey, how do I come visit you? How do I use you? I didn't even know the questions to ask.
Yeah.
I had no
Right.
idea what to even do. I didn't even know what to do.
Yeah.
So, the communication barriers were monstrous, right?
Okay.
Between just the language barrier, I didn't know what to even ask. These people were like, this idiot, what's this guy doing, right? And I did this to a lot. I think I called every
Oh yeah.
major farm, Honduras, Nicaragua, the Dominican, Brazil, Mexico. If it's in the Caribbean, I call them. And Ecuador, I didn't have any luck down there either. And so I figured, what? Email. I'll just email. And so I ended up actually on a Reddit blog, a Reddit forum at some point, and I was looking up kind of the same thing, and people were making recommendations and suggestions of where to go. And so I've kind of found some of the largest tobacco producers around, and I found out that I'd already called them, but I found email addresses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started firing off emails, and I don't know why, but I got responses in English. And so I was able to, the best I could, disseminate in an email, write out, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I really enjoy a good cigar. You have good tobacco and supply other companies. Can I get some of that? And the immediate answer is no, you can't. But you got to go through some stuff. You got to go through some hoops. It took about a year.
Yeah.
And then, it's no secret that, this is a vice activity, right? And it's regulated. And so because of that, I also had a quick thought of, I might want to figure out what I have to do to be legal about this.
Yeah.
And so, it's the T in ATF, right? And so, you have to go through the ATF licensing thing, the retail taxes. God, there's so many taxes. My God. And so we're technically, according to the federal government, we are OTP, other tobacco products, and we are a premium cigar company. So in this case, when I say premium, it's not even just bragging rights. It's legally how we're designated. Using only long filler leaves, so leaves right off the plant. We don't use any machines. We're not processing anything. It is hand rolled every time. We're not crunching up any bits and pieces. So it's the real deal. And so it was twofold. It was about a year's worth of talking back and forth, communicating with the different farms, and about a year of figuring out what I had to do to be legal to do this in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Blending those together, and then it was somewhere early. I had to go back through this, but early 2016, we were good to go. I was able to actually import all the leaves. I was able to say I have a legal entity.
Yep.
And I had a retail license, and I could, whether I wanted to or not, I could do it. I could sell them. I just had to figure out how to roll them. And so, but from an actual structural standpoint, we were good to go.
That's not like just starting an LLC, registering your company with the Secretary of State, maybe even having a fictitious name. That's some serious work to even get started. There's a lot of barriers to entry that you mentioned, but it started with a question of like, what would this look like? And then you're all of a sudden going down a path of randomly calling whoever in foreign countries.
I don't even know who I called.
Each step along the way. I mean, at any point in this initial process, were you like, "What the hell am I doing?"
Oh
Like,
yeah, all the time. I didn't know what I was doing to begin with. Again, but I had that little tick of, hey, this is cool. I want to figure this out, because even if I don't do anything with it, I'm just so curious. I couldn't leave it alone. And I was approaching this from two sides the whole time. Of one, I'll probably figure out how would I get the physical product. But the other part was, with the tech background and the design um, hobby, I just wanted something to be really cool, and so that's really what it was. It's just like, hey man, I wonder if I could even figure this out. If I do, it's going to be really good. And two, I want it to look cool. Um, Three, we got this whole everybody loves Kansas City right now. We're on this big, riding this wave of KC love.
Yep. Ever since
But
2014.
yeah, yeah, and so again, circumstance, timing, a whole bunch of luck, and a bunch of emails.
A lot of work and curiosity. So, Max, looking at you talking about your design background. There's another thing that I've always thought of you that I tell you a lot is you're a man of high style, right? Like you help me pick out my jeans.
I remember that. Yeah.
So the fact that you're able to blend all these things together to bring your own brand to life is pretty cool because it's a natural fit for your curiosity, your style, and I would even say your love of the game because you don't get through all those hurdles without really actually enjoying the steps of growth. So at this point that you're talking about, you've got maybe distributors, right? You've got someone that says, okay, we'll work with you after you've jumped through these hoops. You have your company established, registered. So at that point, are you just selling cigars? Are you that are being brought in, or are you rolling cigars? What does the Kansas City Cigar Company look like in the beginning?
Well, again, I didn't know what I was doing, and so in the beginning, it turns out there were a few more steps, right? So they weren't just sending me cigars and saying, "Here you go," right? These are just leaves, right? And so it's like, all right, what do I do?
Wait, you thought you were ordering cigars and they're sending you
No,
leaves?
I didn't really know what, and so all I knew is I now have the ability to import cigars and leaves and tobacco,
Mhm.
and so I have an importer that brings
Did
it
you
in.
set out to just import leaves, or was that just some
No,
kind
but I think there's a lack of communication on what I was going for initially with these farms,
yeah.
and so then I had to figure out, okay, well, I don't know how to roll these things yet. I better figure that out, and so and then also I had these great ideas of at this point I've got notebooks full of random scratches of ideas of logos and names, and I thought KC Cigar Company was pretty cool, but also, cigars are family traditions. That's when you see a cigar label, sometimes these are weird, right? These are
Yeah.
you've got like a grandma nursing a grandkid with a goat in the background, right? Yeah, the labels are funky sometimes. You're like, what is this? It's like it's a Renaissance painting, and the real estate on these things is like it's like a square inch, and so when you think about this, it's because these are family businesses, right? These are you're born, you're in the fields, you're helping pick crops, picking out leaves, you're separating things, you're hanging things in the tobaccerias and the drying barns, and and so that's I don't have that history, right? This is like this is brand new. I don't but thought okay, well I can make it cool, and so just the sketching out logos, a couple think tanks with friends and family of figuring out what this should look like. And next thing you know, I'm in Photoshop, um, kind of winging it. Bought some fonts, started poking around, but I didn't have labels, and I didn't know how to make labels. And so you could just hook up your laser printer and print out a bunch of pieces of paper and wrap around and glue them. But a cigar label, if you look at the big cigar companies, the real cigar companies out there, these labels aren't just printed; they're embossed, they're gold foiled, they're intricate, they're beautiful, they're little works of art. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I do this? Well, the big factories, they actually have their own in-house printing presses. So they don't just own the farms. Inside those businesses, they are picking the leaves, drying and aging the leaves, rolling the cigars, and printing their bands, building their boxes. They do it all in house. Finding someone just to make bands was a nightmare. No one really could do it. And so actually, I started calling some high-end card companies that make like fancy $20 greeting cards, And I was like, hey, I got an idea. Can you make me something that's like 3 inches big? And, I think they thought the same thing. I'm like, what are you doing, idiot? Turns out I sat down with them about 4 or 5 times, exchanged hundreds of emails, and started sending over some of my image files and got some die cuts made. And next thing you know, we're off to the races. So I had to figure out the labels too. While I'm figuring out the labels, I'm also looking up. I'm watching online self-help tutorials of how to roll cigars, basically, and those are depressing if you find just some local people that just really want some cigars. But I was able to get in contact with a couple headmaster rollers for some of the big cigar companies out there that are stateside, that they are based in the U.S. And every year I've been going to the Kansas City Cigar Festival, and I've made a lot of contacts over, up this way, just because as an enthusiast.
Yeah.
And so I called him. I was like, I need help. I roll these things. And so I met this one woman, Rosalie, bless her heart. She was phenomenal. She kind of taught me the ropes, showed me what to do. She's got a whole team, and in the beginning, she was my first roller, so she started rolling them for me. Her and about 5 other women, actually all from Cuba with work visas to be here in the U.S. And they're great, right? They grew up in rolling houses, and so but they're stateside, and they kind of travel around the country, and they would help smaller independent guys like me. And then it just kind of went from there, right? And so once I kind of had the knack of it and I figured it out, I'd have her do some, I would do some. Mine were subpar at best, but
That's where you start, right?
that's where you start. But I'll tell you what, I roll a pretty mean one now.
Oh, you do, man.
It's good. It's but it took all that. And I didn't expect any of that. It took way more time than I anticipated.
I mean, this is an incredible journey we're talking about here, Max. I mean, from just even the barriers to entry to then getting leads to what do I do with these? How do we roll them to then finding the contacts? I mean, the greatest resource is being resourceful, and you're clearly a black belt in that. I mean, this is incredible how you've done all this. So, you now have a product, right? So then what?
Now I have a product, yeah. And so again, that everything I just went through that took about a year to really figure it out. And so by early 2016 is when I was really ready to, okay, I have a viable offering. I could sell this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I, in preparation of that, had a bunch, as many as I could, rolled up. I think a few hundred. And at the time, I thought, oh my God, I got hundreds of. Now I've got money invested in this thing. I mean,
It's
real
real.
money. I mean, just from buying, some licenses here, some trademark stuff, just general background business things that you need,
Mm-hmm.
and buying leaves, buying labels. When you don't just buy one label, right? I mean, I had to buy like thousands of these things. Otherwise it's gonna be like $1 each, which it was in the beginning. So I thought, okay, now what the hell do I do? So, no one knows them. I mean, people are like, oh, cool hobby, right? And, not at this point, I'm still just a finance guy.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell the world, right? And so I tell family and I tell friends, and they're, and I've got awesome friends and family, and everyone's like, yeah, I guess I'll take one, And so,
These aren't Girl Scout cookies. Come on.
well, and I think, and this will be the story of every person in history that starts a business. There is some truth to where you do have to give some stuff away, for free to, see if it's even going to work, but, and to get your name out there. It's expensive though, at the time, every single cigar I was double digits on just what my costs were. And the average cigar in America, US based retail at the time, today it's about $13.75, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Average retail price of a premium cigar. At that point, it was probably about 11, $11.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like, it cost me almost $11. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, every single little label, every 3-inch label, I was like, and there's $1, and there's $1, and there's $1, right? And of course, I didn't just want the cigar to look good. I'm like, if I'm going to make the cigar look good, I want my packaging to look good. So I spent way too much money on really cool boxes, really cool bags, great, gold foiled stickers with the flavor profiles and the blends listed on them. And, this is also the world of Amazon shipping. And so when someone buys something, they're like, I'm going to have that in like 2 days, right? And it
2 days.
turns out, yeah, right, they want it now, and I do too. That's how fast I want it. And so, even if we had friends and family that were uh, actually East Coast, and the very first box ever that I sent out was going to Maine, and I find out real quick how much it costs to ship a box of cigars to Maine in a timely fashion. I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing, right? And I lost so much money. And so, every single box I made was, $5-6 just for the cardboard that no one cares about. Another 50 cents in this really thick milled plastic for the bags to stay hydrated in. And then, of course, I wanted it to be beautiful. So I had, accoutrements of ribbons, and I was customizing, putting everybody's names in it. And, next thing you know, it's like, I didn't just make any money or break even. I'm getting my ass handed to. I've lost a lot of money. And, just trying to get the name out there and telling people, because I was excited too. I was like, oh my God, you guys see what I got now. But, everybody, a lot of people very early on, I was lucky here because even if they had zero interest at all, they're willing to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with people giving it a shot is there's a real cost, right? These are physical products. And so every time I let someone give it a shot, it cost me 10 to $50. I'd have friends saying, hey, I don't know much about cigars, but if you want, I'm going on a guy's trip. I'm going on a bachelor party. I'm going to the lake. If you want, I can take some with me. And they're just being nice. They're trying to help me. But also, that was me packaging up 5 or 6 for friends and be like, well, here you go. And I'm watching 50, 60, $70 walk right out the door. They'll call me. They'll order some. They'll really love this, And that's a hard lesson, but
It's a lesson, though. I mean,
I think everybody does. I think everybody does that in the
well,
beginning, right?
and part of it is like, that I've seen, I've gone through and I've seen with other companies is hitting that point where you have the confidence in what you're doing to be able to ask for the price you need to, right? Like for it to grow beyond a hobby. You
Yeah,
went through and jumped through all these hoops. Now it's go time, right?
it's go time. Yeah, I prefer nicer things.
High
I
style. People, I can't tell you enough. The guy's got impeccable style.
well, not everything, but you get what you pay for on a lot of things, right? And I believe that. And I knew full well that the cigars are discretionary income purchases, right?
Yes.
Absolutely nobody on the planet needs a cigar, but there are a lot of people that certainly want one.
Yep.
And that is the arena that I wanted to play in, right? Because those are the things that I like too. I don't need a lot of the things that I have, but for one reason or another, I really do like them. I guess a little bit behind the scenes baseball here is take a really fancy car, right? Maybe people watching this don't know much about cigars, but everybody knows about the crazy sports car brand, right? Let's take like Ferrari.
Mhm.
Okay, you can buy a Ferrari for a few reasons, right? You can buy it because, oh man, I just hit the lottery, I got all this money, and rich people should buy Ferraris, right? Because they're fancy and people know I got money. The other reason is, hey, I've got the means to do this, but the way that the Ferrari is put together, it's pieced together by hand, the way that that motor is built out and the history behind this, it is the most phenomenal machine that can roam the streets, right? Those are two very different reasons for buying the exact same thing. And so luxury products, discretionary purchased products, different types of people buy them. Some people buy them to be flashy. Some people buy them because they have a genuine interest in this stuff. Um, for me, I like to figure things out, and so I like to say that I fall into the second category on this. And so, but I also know that what I'm making is that somebody who just wants to prove their manhood and have a cool looking good cigar, they might be buying these too. And so it's understanding what you have and why someone might buy it, but in the beginning, not having the confidence of, does anybody care about this? Does anybody even care? There's
Yeah.
already 1,000 cigars out there, and people who really do enjoy cigars for the sake of a cigar, they've got the ones that they like. Why would they even try this? Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't. If I went away, or even today to this day, if I just went away, it wouldn't matter. Right. No one needs my stuff. So
Wait, so Max, if I've seen a lot of the cool things you've been able to do, but if you're looking at you now have sold cigars, you have your website, people are starting to catch the buzz, right? It's Kansas City related. Kansas City's hot.
catch the buzz. I see what you did there.
So anything Kansas City based, really, there was an opportunity, and that was kind of what you talked about in the beginning. So once you went to market, you mentioned you sold cigars, the labeling, the packaging. I mean, I remember when I got into real estate, when I would have a big closing, you would supply a box and put my client's name on it and make it really cool. And, and from my standpoint, it was like a sense of pride of like, this is what my friend created, right? Like being able to tell
Yeah.
your story. Now, with that being said, you didn't make any money on it, and it wasn't something that was anywhere
Mm.
close to covering your costs at that point. But I know, like for me, it was exciting to just be able to tell your story. So with that being said, at what point did it go from, okay, we want to get this in front of people, to now we want to really try to grow? We're going to
Yeah.
start doing, and could you talk about the events you do?
Yeah. The just trying to sell these one at a time. It wasn't viable.
No.
It wasn't going to work, and at this point I had so much invested in it, money and time. And again, remember at the beginning, that's one of the things I can get more money. I can figure that out probably, but I can't get more time, right? Once that's gone, that's out the window. And so that principle alone, I thought, I am spending so much time getting these leaves in, getting these labels made. I'm spending time mailing these things out. I'm spending time trying to figure out who wants one of these. I'm spending time building. Right? It's all time. It's so much time.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple of friends that they would say, well, I'm doing that. I'm going out tonight to go to this event. I'm going to this party, and so when I got married, we actually had a cigar roller at our wedding. And this was, again, I was interested in cigars. I didn't really care a whole lot about them other than, I like a good cigar, right? And so did my in-laws. And we somehow mutually decided, that, man, what if we had a cigar roller there? It was really cool. And so the gentleman, his name's Corey, he's out of Weston, fantastic guy. He rolled at our wedding. And I know that the bill on that was partially based off the time that he spent there doing the activities. And I thought, oh my God, this guy, we're paying for a physical product, but we're also paying for the time. The time doesn't cost physical money.
The
So
time and the skill.
the time and the skill, right? Now, generally speaking, people have skills of all sorts, right? Every trade out there. And, if someone can do what it might take me a day, if they can do it in 10 minutes, I'm not paying them for 10 minutes. I'm paying them for the 10 years it took them to learn how to do it in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Right? This is like that, but a little bit different. But that's what I thought it was at first. I wanted people to pay me for the time that I have taken to learn how to do all this. But who doesn't care about all the time that took? Anyone else other than me. So there had to be an extra X factor on that. And so I started doing these events. I would do pop-up events. I offered to do them for free.
Yep.
I started showing for like First Friday events down in the Crossroads. I was calling golf courses. I'd show up to tournaments and just, I always thought every time, man, you know what? Even if I only sell 2 or 3, I'll get my name out there. Right. And everybody promises you, oh man, I can't wait to go buy all your stuff. They never do. But, I was doing bars, distilleries, restaurants, event spaces. I would just show up for free. I was calling them saying, if you got parties, you want an extra cool thing, I'll come out and roll cigars. And everybody's like, roll cigars? What are you talking? And it turns out it was pretty cool. And so even though I made zero money, I actually lost more money because I had to go buy, I got a couple $1,000 in a tent and tables and tablecloths and cutters and lighters and ashtray, all this stuff. I mean, it's so much money. But so I'm still losing, but in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'll get the name out there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, I think you have to do that. But when it switched for me was when, after doing probably a year or two of just events and not maybe breaking even, maybe. Luckily, I had a corporate 9 to 5 job that paid the tab.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is one of the reasons I do this is for so I can provide. And so talking with my wife, she's like, spend a lot of time doing this, and when people throw parties, they're Friday nights, Saturday nights.
Yep.
These are prime hang out with me time. So unless you're going to be making a ton of money on this, right, or something, like, what are you doing, right? I appreciate hobbies, and so she's also the most supportive partner in the planet for even letting me go down this path.
Oh, absolutely.
But I started to get a couple calls from some of these events, them saying, people loved it. Will you just come do another one? And I thought, oh man, okay, something's catching on. So I would, I'd go back out, but I'm just hoping that if I show up for free, someone will buy my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they would, I'd be out there for 3, 4, 5 hours at these events, and I might sell 5, 10 cigars.
Yeah.
My margins on that were like 8 cents, right? So I'm leaving, and if I bought myself, a beer while I'm there, I'm out. I'm losing.
Yeah.
But it did give me the sense of the fact that people were actually calling me back saying, "Hey, that went pretty well. Why don't you show back up?" Where I did really well with like men's events, Father's Day, Christmas, things like that. Valentine's even. I did a couple.
When you
of
say you did well, what do you mean? Like, so they would book your company to come in,
They would
roll a
they
cigar
would book me.
for their
Yes.
specifically, and that's what
But booking is a strong word. Booking implies that I was providing a service for money. I started getting calls from cool places, like some breweries, right, and some distilleries around town, and they were calling me specifically, like, hey. But it also, from their perspective, it didn't cost them anything. I was showing it for free, and if someone wanted my stuff, I'd sell it, right?
Yeah.
But I saw that they were promoting me and saying, "Hey, come on out to our event. We got this. We have a cigar roller."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. They're not taking advantage of me. That's what I offered them. But I thought, I feel like this is a lot of time I'm not getting paid for.
Yeah.
But I'm catching on that people thought that it was pretty neat, and I'd get a big gathering. And so once I started getting a couple phone calls, I thought, well, maybe this event thing, even if I only sell 5, if this is entertainment enough, maybe I could charge. What do people charge for this? Maybe. And so I just made up pricing. I said, you know what, for $500, I'll come out and I'll roll. And the immediate feedback was like, $500? We're all set, man. No, yeah. Why don't you just come roll? We'll help you get your name out there. And I think every entrepreneur, every business owner in the planet will have 1,000 of these discussions of, you come do this, you're going to blow up. I'm going to get your name out there. Everybody's going to see you, right? You wait till you get the exposure conversations, right? You're going to get
great. Yeah.
Come do this for free.
I'm the greatest hype machine ever, Max. We're going to make it huge.
You're going to get so much exposure from this. But you know what? In the beginning, it makes sense, right? Because these people are established. These are businesses. They already have traffic. They're already making money. They're doing well. So to get your foot in the door and be a part of it, there's no other option but at the moment be like, oh my God, this isn't the way. It's not that glorious, and you do have. There's no way around it. You got to do that. You have to do some of that, but I was getting stepped on real hard, real hard, and I wasn't valuing myself and the time. But I also didn't deserve it yet because I didn't really have much. All I was just some schmuck with a bunch of leaves. But where
that brings up an interesting point because you've got to build up the marketing channels, right? Whether social media, database, whatever it is, and that take effort and time because otherwise you're blaring your message out to who?
To nobody. And that's where it really helped to where when I thought, okay, I'm going to do one of these events and they're going to really get me the exposure they're promising. And a mantra that we have in my house is who's someone else looking out for? And this isn't bad. This is just human nature, but who are they looking out for, right? And doing these things, no person is going to put their life on the line and be like, oh man, I'm going to really put myself out there to help Max, right? These businesses, they're just trying to make themselves look cooler, and I just was helping them, which is, again, that's how it is. I would, that's fine, but no one else knew about it. And so it really turned into, I need some photos. I need to take pictures. I need to take little videos and put these on the internet. And so that's where we got a little bit more invested in actually trying to take pictures. And this is me and my wife out on golf courses, taking pictures of begging people like, hey, just hold a cigar. Even if you don't like cigars, just put one in your mouth while you tee off and let me get a picture of you. I'm not kidding. I took so many pictures of people that wanted nothing to do with a cigar just to get it like action shots of making it look like people were enjoying this stuff.
Yep.
Um, and so once I kind of had a portfolio of photos, I'd put them online and say, hey, look, we're at another big party.
Yeah.
It definitely exaggerated a little bit, but what happened was, and I can kind of fast forward through some of this, but it just ramped up very slowly of, okay, I'm doing events at no cost and I hope I sell something, to I'm doing events at no cost, I hope I sell something, but you know what, at least I'm going to take some pictures because I'll promote myself,
Mm-hmm.
to, okay, I'm going to do some events, I'm going to charge a little bit of money, but it's only going to be for people who have extra budget,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still just going to charge a little bit and I'm going to try to sell it and take photos. So now we got all these, we got 4 or 5 factors here. Well, once I realized that, again, these are discretionary income purchases, the type of individual that typically likes it, that enjoys cigars, chances are they got a little extra cash. And so that it really hit me that the type of people I wanted to be around doing this were those people who had some extra cash laying around, right? That's the sport. And so I thought, okay, I called around. I called cities all over the country, and I'd request cigar rollers to come to parties. And I'd ask them, like, well, how much you charge? And I figured that out. I figured out what everybody is charging. I called probably 15, 20 different people around, and I thought the number of people that have an extra $500 is out of this world. On a random Saturday in college, if I got enough guys together, we could get $500 and pay some schmuck to come out here for 5 hours. That wasn't the situation that I wanted, though. And so made a big jump, and said, you know what? We got something. No one else is doing this. I'm looking around. I'm calling people. I called, there's cigar places around Kansas City, and there's a couple rollers, and everybody does great. Everybody's good. Everybody knows about cigars. But what cigars have an image of, big burly dude showing up, and maybe I'm pulling up on my bike, and I've got my leather chaps. So, I don't know, I'm just a burly dude, and I'm gonna light my cigar and blow smoke, and I don't care because I'm the man. Those aren't my people. That's not what I want to wear. So I was showing up wearing a suit.
Yep.
I thought if I wanted to be, I love James Bond, right? I wanted to be the James Bond of cigars. And so I'm wearing a suit and tie to this. And sometimes I was overdressed, and people look at me like, what's this guy's deal? Why is he dressed up like he's going to the ball, or going to the gala?
His deal.
What's this guy's deal? But I thought, you know what? That is my deal. I am that guy.
That's
and
the
you know what?
experience. You're creating a high level, high end experience with high style.
I wanted to be the James Bond of cigars. I wanted to be, if you call me, I'm going to show up. This is what it's going to look like. I wanted to decide that, not them. And so I thought, okay, the person that is going to be paying for me, they're probably also going to be in suits. What kind of events are men showing up in suits?
Yo.
Well, turns out these are weddings, right?
Yes.
Lots of guys show up to weddings in suits. And guess what? Weddings are expensive. Mm-hmm. And big weddings.
Mad.
Big weddings are very expensive. Guys also show up to suits that are, other entrepreneurs, other business owners, right? These guys, it's like, man, these guys look good. Of course they have a business, right? Say whatever you want. If they want to look well, hold themselves up to that image, that tier, because that's who they see themselves as. Well, who's providing that next level cigar for them? Who's providing that higher end cigar experience for them? It turns out nobody, right? Nobody. In fact, it would be weird to show up in a suit to almost any cigar, retail lounge, cigar bar, cigar shop. You go into a cigar shop wearing a suit right now, I mean, there's going to be some, but people are going to be like, who's this guy, right? So why not me? Why not? How about I show up to you? I'm wearing a suit, and you know what? It's all black. It's gold foiled and embossed. And if you want me, it's expensive, right? And so that's the attitude I had, at least. And it was slow to catch on because those folks didn't know I existed yet. So it took a couple years of building that up, and also, getting through life. getting married during the, and having kids. And I had the luxury of doing this at my on my free will and free time, and so it just kicked up an even bigger notch of almost by accident of if I'm going to do it, it's going to be worth it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to show up to every single event. I'm not going to provide a full history breakdown, storytelling, hands-on, rolling, people tasting, touching, teach other people to roll. I'm not going to do that unless it works out for me. And by the way, if I am going to do it, I'm going to show up in a suit still. And my shoes are going to probably be polished, right? Because why not? And it took a couple, but once I figured out how to relay that verbally,
Mhm.
it kind of took off. We got a bit of a reputation. We got a couple of high-end event planners around Kansas City that they are just given one big blank check, and they're told from their clients, hey, just make it cool, make it fun. And we got on a couple lists with them of, we don't really get it, but we know people freaking love you and you look good and you represent us really well. We have no fear that we could put you in a black tie gala setting, and you're not going to stand out in a bad way. In fact, you're going to blend in quite well, and people are going to appreciate that we have something unique and custom. And so doing a few of those, I realized these are my people, right? These are my people. This is where I want to be. These are the type of people I enjoy interacting with in my personal life, and I would love to share my craft with them.
That's awesome, man. So Max, this is an incredible journey, just from the beer pong conference table story
Came a
to
long way.
the growth of building, the KC Cigar Company. What are where's it at now? What's the state of the KC Cigar Company now? What are the services and products that you guys offer? What's your team look like?
Yeah. So we've come a long way, and it has not been a really fast rocket ship ramp. We're on year 9.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do yet, but next year is our 10 years of doing this. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. Um, I want to have a big 10-year anniversary next year because we've learned a lot of lessons. We've grown so much. But where we're at today, the state of KC Cigar Company is we're slammed, which is good. But the people and individuals and companies and communities that we've met in Kansas City and outside of Kansas City for that matter, but
Yeah.
are the people that they like to have fun. The nicest way to put it is again a discretionary income experience that we provide. We consider ourselves an experience-based company.
Mhm.
We do not just have a physical retail outlet. You can come in and buy our stuff. It is by appointment. We work primarily with event planners, event space owners, wedding planners, corporate planners. The secret is we don't really talk to men that often, even though it's a male-based product and sport. We predominantly get phone calls from women that have no idea what they want or need, but it is generally still for the men.
Mhm.
But those are it's the women that, they're the planners. That's how it is in my house too, right? It's if you need me to do something, you probably got to talk to my wife. And it's the same.
And
It's the same case for the types of events that we show up to. In fact, the last 2 years we were nominated by WedKC magazine as Experience Vendor of the Year.
that's
Right?
incredible.
It's wild, but again, that shows that we are at a point to where we are in weddings. We've done the most exclusive event spaces in Kansas City multiple times. We've been in places you can't even smoke in. You'll get fined. But, we're able to be in there and rolling with a security team, making sure that we're following all the rules, right? We've rolled in museums. We've rolled in Union Station, Nelson Atkins. We did every member guest golf tournament in Kansas City last year, I think. We show up where people are having fun. It is a certain socioeconomic individual or group
Mhm.
that we cater to, and we cater quite well to them. We absolutely respect budgets, but typically higher budgets are effective and helpful with us. And our job is to make sure that they have fun. in the end, it's just cigars, but what we do is so much more than just the cigars. It is, we have fun. We have a blast doing this. So we like to think that we elevate an experience. We help enhance it. We've done grand openings of so many companies now at this point. We do a lot of client events. You want to throw a party, invite your clients. You don't, what are you going to do? Show up and have people are going to eat, drink, fake like they want to dance, or sit next to people in a way that they don't really want to talk to, but they're stuck at this table. The other option is they come over to us. We teach them to roll their own cigar. We have a great conversation. We all laugh. And someone gives a lot of good photos to say, people had fun at my party. And we
Okay.
help them do that.
Now, KC centric, Kansas City centric. There's a story I'd love for you to tell here.
Oh boy.
Have you been? How was it after the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl? I remember seeing KC Cigar Co. cigars in the locker room, and I think there's a little bit more to the story. Could you just kind of talk about, what your experiences have been like at some of the highest levels of events, man? Because it is like just an amazing story, and I'd love for you to share.
Yeah, I'll see if I've got a condensed version of some of this. Again, the story of KC Cigar is circumstance, timing, luck. I'm gonna say effort, a lot of effort. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
More luck and circumstance than anything else, though. So we have rules now, right? We've got three, I'll call it 3.5 of us that are kind of full time. 4.5. I'm gonna include my wife on this too. 4.5 of us that are full time doing this. Everybody rolls. Everybody can host events, and everybody's under the same understanding of we have a certain level of professionalism that we want to keep. We still want to be that James Bond of cigar rolling.
Yep.
We are still the team that shows up in suits unless you tell us otherwise. And the two main rules are, one, don't lose money, right? Let's try to make money. Just don't lose it. But do rad things. Let's cherry pick the coolest events, right? Because there's a lot of people that have events, and there's even a lot of people that can pay us unlimited money to come and do it. So let's cherry pick the good ones. So we are very we're discretionary on who we pick to work with, but by chance, one cool group of individuals happens to be a professional team, and in this case, the Chiefs were doing very, very well, and to the point to where it looks like, man, they're doing very well. There's some potential here that they could be going to the Super Bowl.
And
so, this was what was the first year? It's here 24, 22. Would this have been 22?
Or was it 2019?
2019? Maybe it's 2019.
No, it might have been 22. Yeah, you're right.
It was whatever the first one was, and so all for the first 7 years, 6 or 7 years, I'd never once changed the logo, never changed the band. I'm still very proud of it to this day. It was black and gold. It's universally just it nails it, right? It blends in with everything, right? And so, but this was something special. Again, I got started because of the hype around, Kansas City at the time, and in 2015 that was Royals, right? Well, now fast forward, now the Chiefs are doing really well, and I thought, what if we played into this? What if we took our same label, but what if we made it red and gold? Right, easy change. So I called up the printers, and I called it and talked to them. I said, only thing I want to change is I want to make red instead of black. So red and gold. They came out great. And so and of course, now I'm to the point where I got to buy like thousands of these to get them down to the price I want, which is insane. But okay, so now I've got red and gold labels because we love the Chiefs, and but loving the Chiefs and having these things look right, that doesn't get you anywhere other than, I got them. And again, we don't sell cigars at this point. All we do is private events, high end parties, wedding, nothing to do with football games. I'm not showing up, selling these to people and tailgating in the parking lot. But what I do know is that this whole Chiefs thing's pretty sweet. So I start calling people, anybody I can think of, and thinking, do you have any connection at all to this team? I don't even care what, just any. I don't even know who to talk to. I don't know. I mean, who do you talk to? If someone said, hey, go get your product into a professional football team, who do you call, right? I don't know. So you know what? At this point, I just started calling friends and family and throwing out, asking for favors. Like, I don't know anybody, and I talked to a lot of people, and everybody kind of looked at me like, I don't even know what I would do. Even people that worked within the organization in some manner, sales or marketing or whatever, suites and seating, and there's a lot of people at the organization. And just by chance, again, the way that I've positioned my own life is conveniently, I have a friend who had a boss who had a couple jets. That's a good friend to have. I don't want to own a truck. I don't want to own a pool. I don't want to own a boat. I want people friends, people boats, people pools. I'm adding to that. I want people with planes. Turns out I got one. I got a couple friends that have planes, and they were letting certain backup quarterback, his wife, fly on their plane. And in this case, he said, "Well, I don't mind. We're friends with her. We'll just ask her." And so a friend of mine asked the wife if she would mind taking a ton of cigars in this case, it was like 200 cigars, to the Super Bowl because they had made it in at this point. And I think everybody was confused. Everybody was like, "What in the hell are you talking about? This is what?" But I think it was almost good because no one knew enough about cigars or why I was wanting to do this to ask too many questions. Everybody just said, I guess that's fine. So again, happenstance and luck. And, maybe it's also a message of keeping the people that you're around, stay within a good circle, and have good reputation. Right? And so this happens. I ended up getting a couple boxes of cigars onto a plane to the Super Bowl. And at that point, I'm not there. And the only thing I'm putting my faith in is that my friend got these onto a jet with the wife of the player, and some miracle is going to happen. She's going to get these into the locker room. Oh, and by the way, we're going to also pan out. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And when we do, all this other stuff went right, that there's going to be a duffel bag full of cigars in that locker room. And I also threw in a ton of cutters and lighters. And I'm also thinking, like, they're in a locker room. Can they even do that? I'm like, I don't know. Okay. And I'll back up just a little bit because during the AFC Championship, this is right when Joe Burrow also had a cigar, and this is what Burrow had, and everybody's pissed off at him. And it was on a Fox 4 interview, I think. Mahomes, right after the game, after they win, they go up to Mahomes and said, "Patrick, how'd it go? What, you just won. You're going to the Super Bowl." He said, "First thing I need is a cigar." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he's speaking to me. This guy, like our quarterback is talking to me." And so that was an extra kicker to make this happen. And so I called the news channel. Actually, I was like, "Can I get that clip emailed to me? I'm rolling this guy a cigar." They didn't care either. They sent it to me. But I ended up getting those in there, and we won. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to us, because next thing I knew is I'm thinking, I'm sitting there in my living room. I specifically didn't go out to watch this game because I wanted to be at home with an iPad, a laptop, and my cell phone, with my wife sitting there with her laptop and her cell phone, and family members with phones. Like, if anybody gets online, if they go live on a reel, if they're on like Facebook, screenshot this thing. Nick, I'm telling you, I've never seen so many cigars in my life, and I've got hours of footage. 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, of every player in that locker room lighting up our cigars. And I'm like, I cannot believe this worked. I just cannot believe any of that worked. It's wild that that happened, and and I'm just thinking, that's insane. Those are my cigars. Like, we rolled those cigars. Those are our red and gold labels. They're in the locker room. These guys, and they don't care who I am, but I care who they are, right? And so um, it was nuts.
So then fast forward a couple days.
Fast forward a few days, yeah, and the parade, right? We're gonna have a parade. And so I've got all these little short 30-second to 5-minute long video clips of the whole team smoking cigars. So I sent Instagram and Facebook and emails to every player. And they, it probably went to spam. Who knows, right? They probably never saw them. But I had a couple guys actually get back with me and said, "Oh my god, that was you! I smoked your cigar." I'm like, I can't believe this guy just wrote me back. Well, it was actually Juan Thornhill at the time, no longer with the Chiefs, but at the time he wrote me back and said, "I'm a cigar guy. That was actually pretty good, regardless of winning. I actually like this. I want more." I was like, "Okay, yeah, you got it. Whatever you want, Juan." Um, oh, and by the way, you guys have a parade coming up. If you want me to bring you something for the parade at this point, I'm just like, I don't care how much money this costs. I'll just figure it out. So I kind of invited myself to the parade, and I think he's thinking like, this guy's, what am I going to do? What are you going to do at the parade? What are you going to? And so I told him, I was like, well, I'll just kind of find you before the parade. I'll bring you more, and you can just hand them out to the team. At this point, I was running on a high of seeing my little, 3-inch label, with the Chiefs, and so we get down to the parade. I've got another duffel bag. I look like I'm just, on the streets here. God knows what people thought I was doing. I'm walking around inconspicuously holding a duffel bag full of cigars. And the parade's at like 9 a.m. Well, I'm texting with him, and I'm not getting a whole lot of response. I think the team has a pretty good time before the parade, from what I can tell. They get going pretty early, and so I don't at this point. I've got a duffel bag full of cigars, and I haven't talked with any of the players on it, on social media or on text that I've connected with. Nobody's responding. All I'm thinking is I'm downtown KC. I'm on the side of the street. I've got 100 cigars in this duffel bag with cutters and lighters. What am I doing? Nobody. And what do I tell someone? And so at this point, I can start to see, there's like 30 buses. I can start to see the buses coming down Grand, and no one has called me or texted me or messaged me. I'm thinking, man, you know what? Whatever. We gave it a good. So I'm up about 8th and Grand. I'm right by Anthony's restaurant, and I'm so excited that it happened, but a little bit low. And I'm gonna just turn around. I'm ready to give up, and I hear, from the street, someone yelled at me, like, "Max!" I'm like, "Oh my god, what?" I look up, and talking about keeping good company and having friends, just by, again, pure luck and timing. The one area I was walking in where there's 200,000 people standing. A friend of mine who worked at the local 41 Action News here in town. He's a camera guy. Recognized me in the crowd, and he just wanted to say hi. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, here's the deal. I was supposed to be on one of these buses to give all the guys cigars." Say no more. Said, "You know what? I've been here since 3 o'clock in the morning. I made friends with all these awesome KC Mo police officers. You want me to see if we can stop a bus and get you on? Like I'm supposed to be doing this." I thought, it can't be that easy. It was, though. And so, he helped me. And so I got to know some of the local police folks. They're fantastic. Got some cigars to them. And stopped a bus. And I'll tell you what, if you want to realize the true physical size of a professional football team, I ended up on the D-line bus. And you get 40 guys that are, 6'8", 350. Like, these guys are monsters. They're so big, and everybody's in ski goggles and bubble jackets, and oh man, I'm a shrimp. And it was a real trip getting up there. But I got to go inside the bus. Security just looked at me and just, I guess, assumed that I was supposed to be doing that. I got to go up through there, got up on top of the bus. We drove down Grand for a minute or two. I handed out cigars, took a bunch of pictures, took some videos, and I think once everybody realized, like, who is this guy? I figured I'd have my time, so I had to run down and hop off. But, again, it's just a matter of just getting lucky.
Oh man, it was incredible. That was one of the coolest stories I've ever seen, man. And it couldn't happen to a better guy. Incredible though. It was just so awesome. I mean, Max, like from the beginning when we started today, your journey's been incredible, man. I mean, it's really pretty awesome from, you know, just the thought and curiosity to want to start a cigar company to cold calling to Cuba, Nicaragua, Ecuador, to then figuring out a path to be able to start your own company. I mean, it's pretty insane. Do you think, looking back at when you started, the KC Cigar Company, couldn't you believe where you are now?
Oh man, no, no, I couldn't. It's been a trip, but the same is true as it was on day one. Though this is we have it's a certain expectation of the types of people that I want to surround myself with, the certain types of people that if it's my brand and my name's on it,
Yep.
there's a certain type of event or group of people that I think that I want to see enjoying these because they should be enjoyed.
Yep.
And they're better enjoyed with friends. I'll tell you that.
100.
Um, and I didn't ever think this was going to happen, but now, I mean, every weekend we've got a couple of events, and that's really the cool part is that I knew the type of company I wanted. I knew the type of events that I would want to be affiliated with. What I didn't know is how many awesome, cool people, companies, associations, businesses there are just in Kansas City. I mean, just hundreds of cool places that are absolutely right up our alley to partner with. Um, if I ever thought that we were going to be, even nominated for some type of wedding vendor award, I thought you're out of your mind. If I thought I was going to be on every private golf course in Kansas City with an invite and paid to be there, you're nuts. National sales events that come to Kansas City, we're centrally located, so we get a bunch of, we have 1,000-person sellout events and parties that we're a part of downtown Power and Light. We got a handful of them already lined up for the summer. On day one, it was 0 events, 0 cigars, and it ramped up evenly, fairly consistently for the last 9 years. This year, I would suspect that we'll probably do 60 to 70 individual, private, high-end exclusive events. Everything from, car dealerships to private real estate parties, golf courses. That's kind of become our MO. And luckily, we've got the reputation for that, but it wasn't without some trial and error.
Absolutely. Well, Max, to close out, how could somebody that wants to get in touch with you to book you for an event and have that incredible experience?
Yeah, the best way to do it, and I'm just not just trying to pawn people off here. It really is the website. So on the website, you still can't buy them. That's not an option. The options are you can read about us a little bit, and then you can also fill out a form and let us know when the event is, what it is. And every single event that we do, we have a conversation with you. We figure out if we're a good fit. We talk through the details, the logistics of everything, and book it. So it's through the website is really the best way. And there's a phone number on the website. Again, I make it sound kind of big, but it's really just there's only a handful of us here that do it. So when you call or when you text or when you send in a request through the site, or if you talk to us on social media, it's either me or 2 or 3 other guys, right? And that's it, right? If it's not me, it's one of my partners, and we talk all day long, through the group chat of like, hey, someone's got a cool wedding coming up. Hey, someone's hosting a charity tournament or a themed party that cigars fit in well with. So you're going to get a call back, probably within 10 minutes to an hour, at least by the end of the day. We call, we have a discussion with you, we figure out if we're a good fit, and then we come out and help you celebrate.
That's awesome. Well, Max, thanks for coming on and sharing your story on the business growth journey. Incredible stuff, man.
Thanks for having me, man. This is cool.
Awesome.
We should have a cigar.
Hey, in closing, you're the one that got me to like cigars.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Max.
All right. Thanks, Nick.